Kirk Math. Hello and welcome to Topic 8 Study Guide Review. So we are going to go over the study guide that you had received for your Topic 8 test to help you review and study for either your test or your retake. I'm going to go over just the questions that I know are kind of on the test and really important, and this video might be in 2 parts. So if you need a specific question, you might want to look. I'll try to include the question numbers in the video title at what you're most interested in, okay? So I'm going to go through and just kind of try to explain to my best why the answers are the way they are, and do the problems with you. Okay. So number 1 on your study guide is we're looking at the 2 graphs here. So you should know automatically that this graph right here is our parent graph, okay? And that this graph is basically anything that I'm multiplying the parent graph by. The only thing that's different between these 2 functions is the a value. In the parent function, a is 1, positive 1, but in the graph g of x, a could be any value. And so because it tells us that this graph, the graph of g of x, is opening downward and is narrower than the parent function, we know that downward facing graphs have a negative a, and that narrower graphs than our parent function, so if this was our parent function, graphs that are more narrow have a larger a. So let's write it more generically. A is going to be greater than 1, whereas graphs that are wider, like this, then are, well, that doesn't like me drawing over there, then my parent function, if that might be it, are graphs where a is less than 1. And I'm pretty sure it's the absolute value of a, because you can't have it be negative, and that's okay. So basically, because we know this 2 pieces of information, I know it cannot be C or D because it has to be negative. And using this information, because it is narrower, it has to be greater than 1. So a equals negative 3 is going to be our answer. Okay. Then on number 2, we're looking at the average rate of change. Now this one I had almost everybody ask me questions about when we were going over this. So I'm going to write it out so that you can see what it looks like, because what you're really doing is remember that the f of x is really the same thing as y. So when I plug a number in for x and I solve, I'm also finding a y value. Okay, what we're basically going to do here to find this interval is we're going to find rate of change, or slope. Another word for rate of change is slope. So I'm going to basically do y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And the way I'm going to do that is I'm going to take each value of my interval and I'm going to plug it into my equation, and then I'm going to solve. Whatever my answer is will become my y value, and the interval number will become my x value. I just need to make sure that my x's and y's match up. So if I substituted -2, that answer goes above the -2. And if I substituted +2, that answer goes above +2. And then you just subtract, and that is how you get your answer. So I'm going to pause here and write it out so that you can see it. That way you can see how we're going to get our answer. Okay, so over here I wrote out our work. Here on the left I did -2 for x, and I got 11, and I put it over -2. So this is my y value over here, y2, and this is x2. And then on the right in blue I did +2, and I got 15, which is my y1, over 2, which is my x2. And then in the middle here in orange, I subtracted 11 take away 15, and -2 take away 2, and I got 1. So the answer to number 2 is C. Okay. Down here, we're starting to compare our graphs again. So remember, this guy right here is our parent function, okay? That's our normal one. The only thing that's changing again is a, okay? The negative means that I'm facing down. Okay, so I'm facing, where am I? It's going to be a downward slope, and this is less than 1. So because the absolute value of a is still less than 1, it is going to be wider than our parent function, okay? So those things I already know. So that means here, when a, it says that g is wider than f. We know that is true. F and G open the same direction. Wait, this is a positive 1, and this is negative. So therefore, that one is not true. F and G have the same vertex. I know that because in vertex form, a, x minus h squared minus k, h and k is what changes my vertex. If I don't have an h and a k in my function, that means that I haven't changed the vertex from the original parent function. So yes, that is true. And then f and g have the same axis of symmetry. Well, if I haven't changed my vertex, then I haven't changed my axis of symmetry. So the answers to number 3 are A, C, and D. All right, number 4 is another one that a lot of students were getting confused. And again, I think you're making it more difficult than it really is. Over what interval is the function increasing? So whenever we're talking about the function, we're talking about its solution, which is y or the f of x, right? So I want to know, when does y increase? When does y go up? And we're going to start at the top and look our way down, okay? So -8 to -2 is increasing, to 0 is increasing, to -2, that is not increasing anymore. So from here, this interval, we are increasing. So then we want to come over to the x side and say, cool, when x is, and then look at our numbers, -2 and -4, these are all less than 0. So when x is less than 0, y is increasing. And that's it. That's all it wants to know, is in what interval. Okay, some people were saying like, oh, from -4 to 4 we're increasing. But again, look at your y values. Your y values here are not increasing the whole time. They are only increasing when x is less than 0. Right here, these are increasing values. The rest of them start decreasing. All right, for number 5, we're looking for the vertex of this graph. Again, if you have forgot about vertex form, this is what it looks like. And we get our vertex by finding the opposite of h and k. So h, the opposite of h, is our x value of our vertex, and k is the y value of our vertex. So if I look at the formula that they give us, 2 times x minus 2 squared plus 3, h is -2, so the opposite of that is +2, and k is +3. So that's my vertex. Easy peasy. Okay, another question that has to do with vertex form is to find the axis of symmetry for the function. Well, you should know that x is the axis of symmetry and the x value of our vertex. So when we look at a formula such as -x minus 3 squared plus 5, the opposite of h is our axis of symmetry. So I'm just looking here at the -3, and I know that my axis of symmetry is +3. So that's my answer there, and I don't think I wrote it down on this end. This guy was, what, 2, 3 was my vertex. There we go. That's it. Once again, another one that includes the vertex formula, x plus 2 squared plus 2. We want to know which of these new graphs would be the one that has a vertex that's translated 5 units horizontally. So we know horizontally is an x value. And, just 5 units horizontally to the right of the vertex. That's it. I want to move my vertex 5 units to the right. So again, we know our vertex is the opposite of h. So that's my vertex. And what I want to do is apply this rule right here. So I'm going to do -2 plus 5. -2 plus 5 is 3. So my new vertex will be 3, 2. When I plug it back into that equation, it's going to be the opposite, so I need -3. So that is why our answer is A, -3 as H. Okay, another vertex form problem we are going to be looking at is, there we go. I need to find the vertex and the y-intercept. So the vertex is similar to what we've been doing, okay? So my vertex is -2, -3, opposite of h, and just normal, whatever k is. So that's my vertex, -2, -3. But my y-intercept is a little different. So if I have this function, my y-intercept is when x is equal to 0. So I am going to plug in f of 0, and I'm going to make x 0, and I'm going to solve for that. So I'm going to do 2 squared minus 3, and I'm going to get 2 squared minus 3, 4 take away 3, and that is 1. So my y-intercept is 1. Okay, on number 9, again, we're writing this in vertex form. We're continuing this tradition, but this time we're translating 4 units to the right. So x plus 4 and 1 unit down, y minus 1. Again, our x is our h value, and our y is our k value. So that's kind of what I'm going to do, is I'm going to take that opposite of h, I'm going to add 4, and I'm going to take k and subtract 1. So if my original function is f of h equals x squared, then I need to move this normally I would add it to the right 4, but because I'm doing the opposite of h, I'm going to go -4. And then I'm going to minus 1. So my new function is x minus 4 squared minus 1. 4 to the right and 1 down. Okay, we're starting to move into standard form here. So our functions are going to be ax squared plus bx plus c. And this one is asking for the axis of symmetry. So if you remember to do the axis of symmetry, you're going to do negative b over 2a, or b over negative 2a, either one works. So in the equation, 2x squared plus 8x minus 5, I'm going to take my b, which is 8, and I'm going to put it over my 2 times my a, which is 2. So that becomes -8 over 4, which becomes -2. So that is C. So we're going to go ahead and stop on the first side of that study guide, and we'll pick up in the next video on number 11 with the vertical velocity.